Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Proletarian. At this point, I have had my Citizen Promaster Diver for about 6 months. I wore it quite a bit during the warmer months, and I feel like I can review it fairly impartially. I've got a little bit of distance from the early teething problems that I had with the watch. I did post a video about those about 5 months ago, and that video seems to have pissed a bunch of people off, but I'm very happy to report at this point in time that I'm actually very, very happy with this watch, and I feel like it's going to be a permanent part of my collection. I won't be getting rid of this watch anytime soon. I think that says an awful lot, and I want to take a closer look at it over on the tabletop to explain why I love the watch so much. About 2.5 years ago, not that long after I started the channel, I stopped doing wristwatch checks because they just seemed kind of plagiaristic to me. But I continue to get questions about what watch are you wearing in videos in which I'm reviewing a different watch. So I'm going to go back to doing a little bit of a wristwatch check. Today I am wearing my Seagull 1963 Chinese Air Force chronograph reissue. That's a mouthful. I always have trouble spitting that out without making an error. But this is a great watch. 1963 type Chinese chronographs are still today the least expensive mechanical chronograph you can get your hands on. And they're a column wheel movement to boot. So for the fact that you can buy about, I don't know, anywhere, depending on which one you buy, you can buy anywhere from 5 to 10 of these for the price of an Omega Speedmaster Professional. It's they still represent a really amazing value. I've got it mounted on my Fluco Vigo cuff strap, which I think suits the watch very nicely. And if you're interested in getting a 1963 Chinese Air Force chronograph reissue, please consider following the link in the description down below to Seagull1963.org. They are the largest distributor of Seagull 1963 type chronographs in Europe, and they really have great service, nothing but good reviews. And again, if you follow the link in the description down below, you'll be helping me out because I get a very small commission if you decide to actually buy one of the watches. But anyway, the Citizen Promaster Diver is what you're here to look at, so let's go right over to the tabletop and take a closer look at this watch. All right, everyone, so here is the Citizen Promaster Diver. As you can see, this is the blue on blue version. We've got a blue dial, black bezel, and a blue rubber strap. This is the original mechanical version, and I don't believe this is available for sale anywhere in North America anymore. I think this is only available in Europe and maybe Asia, but if you're going to buy one and you live in the United States or Canada, you're probably going to end up having to buy it from overseas and waiting for it to be shipped to your location. The dial's pretty straightforward. We've got Citizen there. We've got automatic. This watch does feature an 8200 series Miyota or Citizen movement in it. I think specifically this one's the 8203. It does have day and date features. We've got the Promaster logo in red right there, just being eclipsed by the second hand. Maybe I could have timed that a little bit better. Divers on the dial and 200 meters of water resistance, and the 200 meters is in red. So the red Promaster logo and the red 200 meter rating, I think, set the watch off nicely. This rubber strap is a very divisive feature of the watch. If you're older, like I am, and you remember when this watch first came out, this strap with the no decompression limits table on it is, I think, and I think most people my age probably also think, this is pretty much an essential design element of the watch. I know a lot of younger guys hate this. I'm not sure it's a design feature that I would have included were I designing this watch. But the watch has had this strap with this chart on it for so long, I just feel like the watch would be fairly incomplete with a different strap on it. I'm not saying I wouldn't maybe put a bracelet on this at some point in time, or even switch back and forth between a strap and a bracelet. I think this watch would look really great on an engineer's bracelet, for instance. But I'm not sure I'd be able to put a different rubber strap on this. I think this is virtually necessary. Whether or not you really like the look of it, it just goes with the watch. It's just a part of this watch's paradigm, I guess. Anyway, the watch is actually relatively small by modern standards. Let's get the dimensions out of the way right away. The case diameter is about 41 millimeters. And actually, that's not all that small. I thought the watch was a bit smaller than that, but 41 millimeters, not all that small, but it wears fairly small. It's about 47 millimeters over the lugs. We've got a lug width of just about 20 millimeters, so any 20 millimeter strap should fit on the watch. And again, I wouldn't change the strap, but you might want to take that into account. If you want to change the strap or bracelets, 20 millimeter straps are a fairly common size. And the watch is an automatic, so it sits fairly high off the wrist, 12.5 millimeters. That's not that bad, but it's a pretty chunky watch, and it sits a bit proud of the wrist. It's not a real door frame banger, but it does have a bit of heft to it. So one unusual and immediately recognizable design element of the watch is the crown position at 8 o'clock. This is not a left-handed watch designed to be worn on the right wrist. You certainly could wear it on your right wrist. It would make a good watch for a left-hander. But really, the crown was placed over here to get it out of the way. The much more traditional position for the crown, of course, is over here at the 3 o'clock. But I think Citizen was of the opinion that that presented a snagging hazard during diving. You want to keep your hands relatively free when you're diving, and the crown is much less likely to snag over here against your wetsuit than over here facing your hand. It is interesting to note that later versions of the Citizen Promaster Diver, ones featuring Citizen's Eco Drive movement and which are currently available on the market in North America, have the crown at a much more normal 4 o'clock position. But this is immediately recognizable. You can spot this watch even from a distance because of the left-hand crown position, which I think is kind of cool. The overall fit and finish of the watch, I think, is very, very good. It's brushed on its face surface. The bezel is also brushed with high polishing on the sides of the case and the case back. It's nicely contoured, very well rounded, so that it wears a lot smaller. This allows for a greater range of mobility in your wrist when you don't have a sharp corner biting into your skin here. So it's very, very ergonomic, very, very comfortable. Of course, we've got a screw-down oyster-type case back here. We've got the obligatory Citizen sticker on the back. I oftentimes will peel these off on other watches that just have that sort of cling plastic type backing. But Citizen likes to put a real sticker with real adhesive. These are on here very tenaciously. And I have removed them on some watches, but I've just been too lazy to take this one off. If you peel this sticker off, you almost certainly are going to have to take some lacquer thinner or acetone or mineral spirits or something and wipe the adhesive residue off the back, which I don't really feel like doing. But this is a nice, robust, waterproof case back, easy to remove for service, and but very, very durable. And it's got the Promaster logo on the back, as well as some legends around the outside, which indicate the construction of the case, Citizen Watch Company, water resistant to 200 meters, Japanese movement, and a case code there. So, if I had one real criticism to level at the watch, it's the action of the rotating bezel. It is unidirectional, as any good dive watch should be. But it's only a 60 click bezel. It is ratcheting. So you can see the adjustments are quite large. And in addition to that, they're a bit mushy. This is not the most precise and solid feeling unidirectional bezel I've ever seen. I don't have a big problem with it being only 60 clicks, but it's a little, I don't know, mushy, I guess is the word I like to use. I've seen better bezel actions, even on some cheap watches like the Invicta Pro Diver. This has a very nice, very positive, and this is 120 clicks. It just feels like it's got a lot less play in it than the Citizen Promaster. Of course, you would expect something like the Certina DS First Ceramic to have a nice movement to the bezel, and it does. This is also 120 click bezel, although this is actually a bit mushier than the Invicta, believe it or not. Probably the nicest bezel action I've ever seen is on my Deep Blue Sundiver 3. I know Deep Blue catches a lot of shit, but this really has a very nice bezel action. Very positive, very smooth. It just feels very high quality. And the Citizen Promaster, it works, and I feel like it's very strong, but I don't know, it just doesn't have that, super smooth feeling that I get like from the Deep Blue, for instance. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the bezel action on this, just not really my favorite. It just feels kind of clunky and mushy. Again, I don't know any other way to explain it. Overall, the rest of the watch is very, very nice. It's very, very serviceable. So I guess I don't really have an awful lot else to say about the Citizen Promaster Diver. It's a great watch with a great history, and I think it makes an interesting alternative to a Seiko SKX, for instance. It kind of takes watch enthusiasm to the next level. You're less likely to see one of these on the wrist of one of your friends than an SKX, for instance. And because I'm always somebody who kind of roots for the underdog, and I like things that are just a little bit different, this is the everyday dive watch for me. And it might be for you as well. So anyway, let's go back over to the bookshelves and wrap this up. I don't really have anything else. So despite some initial teething problems I had with the Citizen Promaster Diver, I've come away overall with a very, very favorable impression of the watch. I think it makes a really great alternative to the Seiko SKX. I don't have anything against the Seiko SKX per se, but I think it's almost a little too popular at this point. You see it on too many people's wrists, and I think that this is an interesting alternative to that model. And it's one with its own very interesting history I'm not going to go into in any great depth, but I would suggest, if you're not familiar with that, to go on the internet and look up the connection between this watch and the Italian Navy, for instance. It's a really, really interesting watch. It's one that I won't be selling. I think this is a part of my permanent collection. Even if I get rid of some of my more expensive watches, I think I would hold on to this one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, and if you'd like to be kept up to date with what's going on the channel, please consider subscribing, like, share, tell your friends. All of those things go a long way to help me out. And when I post my next video, I hope to see each of you here then. Later, guys.